this has been a long time I actually recorded, but today I was just reading two scriptures. And was it today? No, it was going to be yesterday. I was reading two scriptures, and I was reading how there was this order that David gave on how the Ark of Covenant should be moved to where he placed it in the tabernacle. All the musicians, Asaph, Jonathan, and all those stuff. And I've been reading the Old Testament for a very long time now, and God is helping me because I should have got it. I think I should have been like in the book of Psalms. I should have been in the Psalms by now, or even more than the Psalms. But one thing, somehow, somewhere along the line, I was tired. Sometimes I was foggy. Sometimes my relationship with God was like, what do you mean of that? I was like, I'm giving excuses. I didn't have time. But yesterday I had opportunity of sitting down to read the whole of the First Chronicles in one day, and for me that's a great achievement, moving from reading 10 chapters a day to being able to complete 29 chapters in one day. It's beautiful, right? Now let's move to what really I discovered. So reading through that part, there are a lot of things in the book of Chronicles, but that part where names were mentioned, the mighty men of David, the names of the Levites and all that, it really caught my attention. I even had to start looking at names. I started looking up for names. I think I saw one, Hell, God is Eliel. That name really, I loved it. It said, God is my God. I started looking up names. There were names like God is my help, the one whom God has helped, the witness of God. I really wish I could remember the person who bore that name, the witness of God. And I was like, wow, these names are beautiful. Yes, when you pronounce them, they sound kind of funny. Some of those names sounded funny, but finding out the real meaning of the name was like, wow. And for my own funny thing, like I've been reading my Bible, I never came across this name, Ethan. I've always loved the name whenever I say Nathan and Ethan and all the stuff. I'm finding out that Ethan is in the scripture, made it really. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah. So now let me get into the business of the day, why I really wanted to make this. Now this is something I would have loved to really have someone to discuss with. Sit down, we talk, we like just talk about it generally, not on a very serious level, but just go really deep. And if we get serious by the help of the Spirit, why not? Now I know I'm ranting. Hello there, this is Myrtle Speaks, and yeah, what we're talking about is majorly on the Levites in the scriptures. So come right with me. So yeah, this conversation I had it with AI because I remembered I was reading, was it the book of Exodus now? Yes, Exodus was where the story of the Ark started. The Ark of Covenant started. Then Numbers was where was giving a kind of account of the Levites, how the Levites were arranged, the Gershonites, the Kohenites, and the Merarites, yes, if I got the pronunciation right. And I've been trying to understand that part. I know, yes, some people were meant to, there was a part of the priests who were to offer sacrifices, there were the part of those that were to watch the gates, there was the part of those that were to carry the sacred materials in the temple, there was a part of those that were to maintain the structure, and there were the part of those that their job was just to, I think I've mentioned everybody's job. And I was confused. I didn't understand. So today, after reading that part yesterday, I was just sitting and I was thinking, and I was like, can we say the Levites are just church workers? Like the way you have a church, like, oh, I attend Winners Chapel. That's not my church. I attend Winners Chapel, and as a member of the Winners Chapel, I'm a part of the choir member. I'm a part of the choir unit. I'm a member of the choir. That's what I'm going to say. I'm a member of the choir. I'm a part of the choir unit. I'm a part of the ushering department. So are we trying to say that that's being a Levite? There was the congregation, but this set of people were set apart to do the work of God. They were set apart to offer service, to ensure that every church program, every procession was carried out and conducted in an orderly manner. And it came to me, one thing that settled in my mind is, there's this statement that I heard from Mrs. Bukawoshika. I don't know if I should call her a pastor. And she said, Babala, nobody can tell me that there is no place for me. And I sat down, I was looking at the Levites, I was reading through, and I was like, nobody has an excuse to say that there is no space for me anywhere. There is space. There's plenty things to be done. Okay, I'm laughing, but it really got to me. And it settled in my mind that in God's vineyard, there is always work. There's always something to be done. There's always space for somebody to fill Him. I mean, God literally had to set apart a whole tribe. A whole tribe for a sacred service. All they were to do was to ensure that worship was done, the tabernacle was kept, and the temple was in order. Their own duty was to ensure that the people were always connected to God. That was it. That was all. Yeah, we can talk about Judah. What was Judah for? The kingship and rulership. Judah was known for that. I think is it the land of, is it Simeon? Simeon and one other tribe are known for war. This one's their own is to fight war. The sons of Issachar is another son of Jacob. When they were known to, this is what we are to do at this time. They understood times, they understood seasons. They knew, this is the time we are to plant. This is when we are to go to war. They knew those things. So everybody to their own strengths in the congregation. But there's a certain set of people that were set apart. Now, so I didn't really understand, like I said earlier, I didn't get a full picture. But those were the things that settled in my mind, because I was just like, God, I really want to understand. I'm tired of reading just the names. I wanted to have a full understanding. And I said, okay, let me and ChatGPT get to work. So I told ChatGPT to give me a breakdown. Okay, I've read this thing, I don't understand it now. Let me use I'm going to read my school book when I don't understand. We go on to AI, thank God. I don't used to say it. My mom would say, but it's ayedero. And I would say technology has made things easier. So I was able to have a breakdown of, okay, this and this and this. This is what this place was talking about. Especially when I read it in King James version, you're just very confused. And I was like, okay. So I did that. And what I got was that the Levites were divided into about, let's say, 2 groups. Let me just say they're divided into 2 groups and categories. So the first group are the priests, and these are the descendants of Aaron. So not everybody is going to be a priest. Let me not say that. Not all Levites were called to be priests. And these people, their own was to offer sacrifice. They were to burn the incense. They were the ones that entered into the holy place. They were the ones that taught the laws of God. They were the ones that blessed the people. They were the ones that did the atonement rituals. And they went talking about the grain offering, the sin offering, and all those offerings that I mentioned in the book of Numbers and Leviticus. Yes, the book of Leviticus and all that. So we had Aaron, Eleazar, and Phinehas. They were the priests in that time. Then the non-priestly Levites, these are those that took care of the temple, the tabernacle, and their duty was their duty was to carry the tabernacle during the journey, guard the sanctuary. Their duty was to sing and play instruments. Theirs was to maintain the temple items, to serve as the gatekeepers. They were the administrators, and they were also teachers of the law. Now, under this place, we now had the Gershonites, we had the Kohathites, and we have the Merarites. So now, the Gershonites, their own was they carried the cotton, all the coverings, the hangings for the tabernacles, and every fabric material whenever the children of Israel was moving. So what I told AI to do for me was now bring it into the modern day church, because I wanted to understand. And what AI said was this: priests are the spiritual leaders, the ministers. So that's our pastor, reverend, bishop, spiritual leaders, president of fellowships, blah blah blah. And theirs is just teach the word of God, lead the worship service, pray for the people, the Father blessing, spiritual guidance, and administering sacraments and ordinances depending on denomination. Then now talked about the Gershonites, the caretakers. So I told him to do something. So the Gershonites are like the ambience teams, hospitality unit, protocol, sanctuary beautification, creative department, the media department. People that just help to ensure that the worship atmosphere is just set. That's who the Gershonites were. So now let's come to the Kohathites. This really excited me because made me understand that there is no, like, you cannot say there's no unit for you to join in church. There's always something for you to do. There's something that comes naturally for you to do that you can do in church. Yours might just be to send reminders. Yeah. So the Kohathites, this was where Moses and Aaron, they belong to the Kohathite family. So the ask is to carry the Ark of Covenant, the lampstand, the table of the showbread, and the altars. And they were considered to have the holiest responsibility, because if you read the book of Leviticus, whenever I talking about the Kohathite, I say everything has to be holy. So before you touch this thing, once you know you are touching it, you have to ensure everything you are going to carry out a certain process that will ensure that you yourself have become holy, so that whatever you touch in that place is holy and nobody can come touch it again. Nobody from outside that is, because once anybody from outside that is not even a Kohathite touches that same thing, it becomes unclean. I remember reading that part very well. So now coming to our modern day, who are the Kohathites in our modern day church? Now see what AI said. Those that carry the holy things, right? So now in today's church, the Kohathites represent pastors, apostles, prophets, intercessors, worship ministers, people entrusted with spiritual responsibility. These people carry the spiritual weight and sacred responsibility, so they are always consecrated. So they minister in areas concerning God's presence, prayer, teaching, spiritual leadership, worship, revival. So like I said, they are majorly about spiritual stewardship, intimacy, and consecration. This one is that not everybody can carry holy things carelessly. If this one's right, something will happen. So like it requires they are mostly, these ones are the ones where you like, this thing is majorly consecration. They are consecrated to the word. Now the Merarites, these ones are the pillars. They handle the pillar, the boards, the frame, the structural support of the tabernacle. Now these ones, you don't see their work, but if they are not there, let me say it in Yoruba, meaning if they are not active, if they are not doing their job, there will be problem in the church. And these are the administrators, the builders, technical units. Imagine if the mic is not working, logistics team, ensuring that okay, this is done. All right, we have the welfare wants to get some things. They are the ones that will go. Transportation team, sound engineer, the church planner. So they sustain the ministry structure. If there was any project coordinators, financial officers. So like, oh, we have a program coming up. Imagine like, okay, let me say in Israel now, the Passover is coming. These are the ones that are going to be in charge of everything that involves the Passover. Are you getting it? Basically. So they represent stability, they represent structure, they represent faithful support systems, and they represent administration. So the Merarites are very important. Then now talked about certain other people. Talked about certain other people in the Levites. So the Levites was not just limited to that. We now had certain special roles. They had the worship leaders and the musicians. Like examples is Asaph, who was a psalm writer, the chief musician. If you read the book of Psalms, you will see him there. Then we have Jetzudun. His own was instrument, or like an instrumentalist. So, and then we had the gatekeepers. This one, their own was just to guard the entrance of the temple. Then we had the teachers and the scribes. This is where Ezra fell. Theirs was to remind the people about the law. They taught the law, so they mostly remind. So when you see teachers and scribes, you can talk about our Bible study teachers and all that stuff. And so I think I've been able to explain a lot of things that I could read. And it brought me to an understanding of what the Chronicles was saying and what the Leviticus was saying. And I'm so happy I can put this one out here to everyone to understand that everybody has been called to service. Every one of us have been called to service. Every one of us have been called to do something. Not everyone is called to stand before an altar. But every assignment in the church matters. So as a worker, that you're not noticed or you're not called to come and lead prayer does not mean that your work in the church is not recognized. Your service matters to God. How you perform your service, it matters to God. Yes, it matters to God. And one thing that I understood from reading the structure of the Levites and having a good understanding is that God values order. God loves order. God has a structure, He does things. And every structure has its own role, has its own responsibilities. So much that everyone can be held accountable. And one thing I saw about the Levites is that every one of them, I'm talking about again, the gatekeeper, the person carrying anything, the quartites that were majorly into the sacred work and everything, and everybody, there was one thing that was common. They were all consecrated to do the work. They were all consecrated to do the work. So holiness was always important. Maintaining a place of purity, living a life that shows intimacy to God, it was so important. Also so important. And it showed me something, like I said earlier, what Mrs. Ebukun Awoshika said, nobody can tell her that she does not have a place anywhere. So this is me saying, Babala, nobody can tell me that there is no space for me anywhere. Nobody can tell me there is no space. There is a place. There is a space for everybody. There is space. Jesus said something. He said, the harvest is here already, but the laborers are very few. Let me tell you something. On a farm, when they say the harvest is here, the laborers, there are different kinds of laborers. There are those that will harvest the crop. There are those that will process the harvested crop. There are those that will refine that harvested crop. And there are those laborers that theirs is to take the harvested crop to the market. The end products to the market. Now imagine if, all we have are those that will harvest the crop. Now, even after that, on that same farm, there are those that will ensure that the farm is prepared for the next planting season. So there's always work to be done in God's vineyard. You cannot say there is no work. There is work. So I'm speaking to you, believer, born again, talking. There is work. Some of us have been called to be intercessors, but we're waiting for the day when they will call and give us mic so we can show people that we can pray. Some of us, we are minstrels, but we're not singing. We're not ready to sit down in the sacred place. And it calls for a very, very big concern. Some of us, we've been entrusted with a lot of spiritual responsibility in ensuring, God have mercy. And what we've been doing is I've been so lackadaisical. I'm talking to myself too. I'm so lackadaisical. We've been so, and some of us, we've been called into even quiet ministries in the church. But we're like, I'm not noticed, they're not seeing it. It's just a little work. What am I doing? Logistics. It's only when the church has a program. And that is it. But I tell you, as a logistic member, you can intercede for the program, because even in logistics, things can go south. Where what you planned might not be what is coming in. Or maybe you said, we wanted to, at this time to this time, we are going to the market to go and get pepper. And you get to the market and pepper is not enough, and all those stuff. Those are things. I'm just giving examples. And he's like, nobody saw the work, but everybody's complaining that the pepper is not enough, the food is not enough, as a welfare member, and all that stuff. And that makes you to just relax or be lax in carrying out your duty. No, please. That's not what God has called us to do. See, there is a place. There is a place for everybody. And that's what I understood while reading through, while trying to understand the Levitical system, trying to understand how God structured that He set apart a whole tribe in Israel and said, this is what you're going to be doing. Just like in the church, we have the congregation, we have the church workers, then we have the priests, which are our pastors. So am I saying to you, there is space for you. Just find what exactly where God has placed you in the church and begin to fulfill your role. It does not have to be you standing on the pulpit. It just might be you behind the scenes. And hi, it's Myrtle Speaks, and I think I've dropped one or two that you've learned from. God bless you.